that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name is Dylan Blight. Joining me this week, as always, and also known as Ashley Hobley. Ashley Hobley.
Hello.
Okay, now you're just copying Sheree, and you're doing an in-joke from a different show. So you've already ticked two boxes within
Success.
2 seconds.
Success.
Well, yeah, good job. If you're not listening to our brand new video game show called Arcade Couch, you probably should be, because then you
get that reference.
You get that reference to Sheree. So there you go, because Ash isn't allowed to say. I've even forgot what you say. What was it usually?
Hey, how you going, Dylan?
Yeah, very serious. Hey, how you going, Dylan? Yeah, okay. Made me always feel like I'm done something, or I'm sitting over here looking super sad or something. I don't know. I mean, I always look super sad, I guess.
You're just reading too much into it. Or way too much into it.
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's jump into it. So we had a pretty big week last week. Well, by we, I mean me, really.
Yeah.
Because you didn't pick up any of it. Well, you picked up one of the last week's games. You just haven't jumped into it yet.
No, I haven't jumped in yet.
Is the main point. And also, hold on. Since there's an audio only show, I'm going to lean back. What came in the mail today was my copy of Fallout 76.
Oh, a day early.
There you go. Haven't you got yours yet?
No, I got mine like a week ago.
Yeah, no, but they said
Like
it
a
wasn't
couple of
supposed to
days.
come until tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, turned up today.
Now you can
There
install
go.
it overnight, and maybe you'll be ready by the time you get up.
Yeah. Well, I think I've got better internet than you, so hopefully. But so Fallout was out last week, but we can't talk about that because neither of us have played it yet. So that's a thing. But what I can talk about of the big releases last week is Spyro, a game that Ash hated playing at PAX.
Yep, those are the words I used.
You're a dragon and you charge stuff and there was fire and there was sheep.
I don't know. Yeah, there was a wizard dude, I think. Statues.
Yeah, you was
You
definitely
just charge
playing
with
the
a
first one.
straight line. You can't move at all.
Got him. So Spyro, it done exactly here. Look, comparing it to Crash, which is I suppose is the go-to comparison, obviously, of another like classic PlayStation trilogy of games that they've remade, released. Although this one is straight away out on all platforms, whereas Crash was firstly just out on PlayStation. But
Is it?
what? Crash is now.
Is it? No, is
Yeah.
Spyro out on everything?
Yeah. It's a multi-platform thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, they didn't. PlayStation didn't have any 6-month exclusivity or any weird. Or not that was announced with Crash. It was just kind of a give. Like we knew it probably wasn't going to stay an exclusive, but it was just PlayStation got the pretend it was an exclusive for a while without ever saying it was an exclusive. But yeah, so Spyro you can pick up in other places. Well, not Switch. By other places I mean Xbox. But yeah, so but I mean the game's known for PlayStation, so that's where I reckon it is going to sell the most, unless a bunch of people who had PlayStations when they was young have moved on to Xboxes. But if you played it on PlayStation and you're picking up this trilogy like I did, and it was a game that you played when you was a kid, it's pretty much how you remember it, to the point. And this is the funny thing always about these remakes, and I had the same sort of thing with Crash, where you remember things look better in your mind.
Yep.
So I start playing it when I boot up the first game and I'm running around at the start and I bump into one of the dragon statues. I free it. I jump in the first world. I jump into the second level. I'm going around. I'm like, this all looks, good, but my mind's telling me it looks just like how I remember it. So I go on YouTube after a couple hours, take a break, jump on YouTube while I'm having lunch the day it came out. I go look up some video of the first game and I'm like, holy shit, my brain does not remember how this looks at all, because like the first world where you start the first game, you boot up this new version and it's kind of like in this field and there's grass everywhere, and when you're breathing fire, the grass is having like fire burnt into it, like scorch marks, and all these characters are colorful and all these sorts of things, and all the dragons you free throughout the whole game, all 100 of them are all designed uniquely, and that's fantastic. And you look at the first game and that opening level, it's supposed to be a field, but it kind of looks like MS Paint, just green. Like it's just that's a field. It's just green. It doesn't have grass. It doesn't have like grass
no
textures.
texture.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's like maybe there's like every now and then around you'll see like 3-prong pieces of what's supposed to be grass to give it that look. It's a field. There's 3 pieces of grass here in the middle of it, but
there's a weed.
Yeah, it's basically a weed. Yeah, so visually looks really really good. Really good to the point. And even gameplay wise, I think this is the most shocking thing about it, especially once again compared to Crash. You play Crash and it definitely feels dated. It definitely doesn't feel like something that could come out today, is the thing. Like if they was to do a Crash game today, it would have to be really updated and have a lot of, it would have a way different feel. It'd be closer to Crash 3, but it would still have to have a lot change for it to feel like something that came out today. But even playing the first Spyro, or particularly the second and third Spyros, they honestly just feel like games that they could have come out today. You know, I feel like you could get away with telling someone who didn't know that these are brand new games designed for kids or something. And people would be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like, I'm sick of playing the Lego games. This looks exciting. I don't think it comes across as a remake, which is a plus, I think. Like, especially compared to Crash. Especially compared to Crash 1, which just shows its age like a motherfucker because it's difficulty and its design and everything. Although, having said that, with Spyro, there are a couple weird things that stick out basically just in the first game. I know because I've finished the first one. I'm onto the second one, and I haven't seen anything like this in the second one so far. But I don't remember this sort of stuff prominently in the second or third game, really. But in the first game, there are a lot of weird things like where are the female characters? There's literally 0 to the point where there's 100 dragons. You free, they're all dudes. Like,
That's why dragons are dying out.
But you know, if this game was designed today, obviously there would be more diversity in well, you'd hope so. There'd be a bit more diversity in there. And then there's also really weird things. I forgot this was even a mechanic in the game until I got to it. But when you get to some later levels, you have to get stronger fire breath to be able to take down certain enemies or like things to break open for gems, and it's like a timed fire breath of 30 or so less seconds that you have access to it. But what gives you this fire breath is these fairies, and you'll free them or find them in a room or somewhere, and you'll walk up to them, and the fairy will float down, and she will kiss Spyro on the nose, and that's how you get the cool fire breathing. And like that's basically the only.
I don't see the problem.
That's basically
everybody knows that fairies have the magic powers come from their lips. It's from the saliva in their. That's where all the magic comes from.
Yeah. Sure.
Why do you think the tooth fairy is so keen on teeth?
Well, there you go.
It's got all that residue built-in saliva that's dried up on their teeth.
What the fuck did you get told about as a kid? Jesus Christ. But yeah, I'd say that the first game is still fun, but it kind of shows its age more. But jumping straight into the second one just because it has more characters straight away. You're introduced to Hunter and I can't remember the girl's character's name, which is so funny.
Not important.
Not important as we've come to learn. But you're introduced to those two, and the doctor whose name I can't remember either. The doctor. Well, he has a name, but so those three characters, which are the
I was going to be very excited there for a second.
Oh yeah, the doctor. But yeah, you're introduced to those three characters right off the bat because they're the ones that bring Spyro to their world, and then you're introduced to the villain, which is prominent throughout the entire game, like shows up and teases you, and you get a bit more character to him compared to the first game where the villain's only at the start. He turns all the dragons into stone, and then you never hear about him again until you fight him at the end. There's like no character building, no mini bosses, there's no nothing in the first one. It's very smaller design, I suppose. And then Spyro 2 and 3, the villains are throughout it. You've got a way bigger cast of characters, especially 3. You get introduced to like the penguin, and there's a kangaroo character and all sorts of things. And you actually have mini bosses, like there's bosses per world. So that's more like proper, the game design I suppose would be more used to. But yeah, the Spyro collection, really good, right? Reignited Trilogy, really good. I'd suggest picking up if you're a fan, and even if you're not a fan, to be honest, if it just looks like simple, family entertainment fun. But yeah, so as we said, we'll be talking about Fallout 76 either here on AK Couch that I'll show at some point. But one of the big games out this week, even though last week was so huge, Ash, I'm going to put this out there so everyone knows. Beat Saber is out today of release, right? The day that this episode is releasing.
Whoa.
Beat Saber is out. Finally going to have my hands in that world, or however I want to put it. I'm finally going to be beating it off.
Beating those sabers.
Yeah, I was just going to put that out there and not say anything. But so I'm just going to warn everyone now. That's probably what I'll be spending a lot of time talking about next week. But that's fine. That is fine. That's okay, right? You it'll be okay. Also out this week, though, I feel like we should talk about briefly to discuss how we're going to discuss talking about it, is Spider-Man The City That Never Sleeps Chapter 2 Turf Wars, which is the second DLC of the trilogy of The City That Never Sleeps thing.
Yeah.
Of which we still haven't played the first DLC.
No.
The Black Cat chapter, the highest. Neither of us have got around to that. To be fair, it came out the week of PAX, and then that was obviously really busy, and I still don't feel like I've slowed down since I got back from PAX. Really.
No. It's just been a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's just, it's not there. But this one I'm going to throw out here, and I want to see if you're on board. Make sure that we play episodes 1 and 2 in either by next week or the week after or something like that, but definitely before episode 3.
Definitely before episode 3.
Okay. Because I reckon...
I'm probably going to leave it to the last minute so I can play like all 3 in like quick succession.
You reckon?
But I don't know.
Because
for all I know, I might boot it up tonight.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, I reckon I'm going to try and play through them both, obviously, back to back now, since I have to wait till tonight or tomorrow whenever the DLC drops. By the time we finish recording, this is probably out or close to out. So yeah, I'm going to play them both back to back. So then probably talk about next week or the week after, and then we could theorize about what the final chapter is going to be, I guess. But yeah, just want to note that yes, this is a PlayStation show. No, we haven't been talking about the DLC for one of PlayStation's biggest games of the year.
Yeah, for maybe my game of the year.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, but putting that out there.
But yeah, I'm keen to see Spider-Man punch Hammerhead in the face.
Yeah,
and then.
So we're getting spoilers too. That's
struggle.
Another thing. We didn't get to. Yeah. If we didn't play the heist on time, so we didn't get to see like Hammerhead teased or revealed or whatever happens in that. We just got it spoiled because, it's part of the. That's just what happens when you
can't
wait.
Help it.
You can't help it. Yeah. But there is.
So don't wait on anything.
No, don't.
You don't get spoiled.
Get out there, do it. Or just get off the internet. It's what you got to do. All right, let's talk about some news. So Supermassive Games this week, the makers of Until Dawn, of course, and other such items. But
Until Dawn, Rush of Blood.
That's the one. And that really crappy other PSVR game I didn't like. What was it called? I can't remember. I can't even remember now. But The Impatient, that's the one. The Impatient.
That was it.
That was it. So yeah, they announced last year, of course. No, not last year. Earlier this year, their Dark Pictures anthology series, which is going to be a horror series of sorts. It's still very confusing of what exactly it's going to be. It's not like all the details aren't out there. It's like, okay, that's what the anthology series is called. The first episode's the maiden ship like horror thing like that. But like, how many titles are being planned for this? What's the go? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like they'll just make as many as they want to make until they've come up with. They don't have any ideas left, or it stops making money.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a genius idea. It's like Black Mirror or any of the anthologies coming back in a big way, kind of.
Well, I mean,
at least in television,
American Horror Story's into its
especially
season,
horror.
So.
Yeah,
well, it's always been a big part of horror, I guess. Is one of the because horror short stories are just easier to do than I don't know other short stories, I guess.
even in video games, it makes sense because what they're really doing is creating a brand. None of these have to connect in any way.
No.
They just call it a Dark Pictures, or whatever it's called, anthology title, and it'll sell, assuming they're good.
Yeah. Well, the connecting factor is the developer, I suppose.
Yeah.
Boom. That's all it is. Which I'm kind of a little bit like I personally in my anthologies like a little bit more than that, like because at least with American Horror Story, the connecting factor is the actors and Ryan Murphy, and there is more than just it's the name or it's put out by the same television company. Like you see returning actors constantly playing different characters and stuff like that.
They might have the same voice actors.
Yeah, well, that'd be cool. I feel that'd be interesting. I guess.
Yeah,
but people were worried when it was announced that because, of course, Supermassive had just been doing PlayStation stuff up until this point, and the Dark Pictures anthology thing is going to be multi-platform with Xbox.
It was through one of the big.
Was
it Activision?
I think it's Activision or someone, but yeah. So everyone's worried, but in an interview this week, we got details that say that PlayStation fans don't need to worry too much about losing their exclusivity. So this comes from PlayStationLifestyle.net, which says, in a recent interview with 4PDA, I don't know what that is, but it's the place, Supermassive Games executive producer Pete Samuels discussed the company's relationship with Sony, as well as its continuing mission to bring quality PlayStation exclusives, despite their upcoming The Man of Medan of the Dark Pictures anthology being available on multi-platforms. Quote, "Well, our relationship with Sony is still excellent. We are working on several unannounced PlayStation exclusives. True, it is impossible to talk about them in detail. In general, I really wanted to present our work to the widest possible audience. That is, the Dark Pictures needs to be released on several platforms." The story then continues to say that the studio has confirmed to be working on 3 stories for the Dark Pictures anthology. Samuels doesn't want people to assume that the 3 separate games are coming their way. There will be 3 chapters to the first part of Dark Pictures anthology, with plans currently in development for a 4th and 5th. So that's what I mean. It's very confusing. It's like, how big is this first Man of Medan? Like, how's it released? Does it release? It's an interesting undertaking, I guess. Continues to say, Supermassive is working hard to build an anthology, but the games won't share a universe due to the player choices that can craft individual stories within their games. We talked to them a little bit about why they chose a particular format, blah, 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 blah. It'll be very interesting to see where the studio takes these particular genres of horror into Dark Pictures anthology when its first episode releases sometime in 2019. So yeah, I think that's interesting from several points. The Dark Pictures stuff having several episodes, that they've already said they've got a lot working on that, but then also the fact that they said they've got several unannounced PlayStation exclusives in the works as well. It's like, holy shit, I didn't realize this studio was apparently so big. I guess
they've grown like heaps since they first started. Like, they've put out games pretty regularly, a lot more regularly than in some other studios. But yeah, they've, after Until Dawn came out, they seem to be pumping out stuff. So either they work really fast or they don't pay people overtime.
Yeah, well, it's hard to read these stories these days without being like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It's a little bit, you can't help it, I suppose. And
side note, Dark Pictures is coming from Bandai Namco.
Oh, that's who it is, right?
That's who they partnered with.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, it did seem like Activision was the right answer, though.
Yeah.
There you go. But so I'm excited I'm excited for all of it. Of course, this is a PlayStation show. A little bit of PlayStation allegiance here, sort of. I wouldn't say I'm, obviously blind fanboy, but at the same time, it is, when they did announce it, it was a bit like, oh, that's interesting. Why didn't Sony,
why didn't Sony buy
just
them?
grab them up? Yeah, I know,
everybody.
that's the thing. So I'm glad to see that, because they've said they've still got stuff working with PlayStation, that they've still got that relationship with PlayStation, and they've been not allowed, because PlayStation didn't owe them, but there's no bad blood between them and PlayStation because they chose to go off and make this deal with Bandai at the same time, I guess. But then it's like, okay, you have several unannounced projects in works with PlayStation. Does that mean next year we get the Dark Pictures, you get the first thing of that out, and then you have like another 1 or 2 PlayStation exclusives. Like they could have a massive year coming up in 2019 for all we know, especially if one of those is Until Dawn 2 or something that hasn't been revealed yet, that they could reveal a lot closer to Halloween next year or something like that and just drop it around that period, which would make sense. Because there's no way they're not doing a sequel to that. I don't. There's no way that's not a thing that's happening. I'd be highly surprised. There's money just waiting to be made. Was that?
I feel like they're probably going to be more VR games. I think because they did do Until Dawn Rush of Blood, and then they've done The Impatient, but they also did Bravo Team came out this year.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's more PlayStation VR projects.
Could be. I suppose the majority could be, and then they could have that Until Dawn 2 or something. But I feel like it's been long enough. When was Until Dawn? 2016? Something like that?
That
sounds
2015.
15. Holy shit. Well, there you go. So, and do you recall, I don't know if you recall, but when that came out, how Sony just mismanaged its promotion? Like, basically, it came out and...
Not promoted well at all.
No, not by them. I remember, because I had it pre-ordered, and it was one of these games you came in to pick up, and I went in bright and early that morning because it was like most days when I pick up pre-orders, it was I have work later. So there I am, 9 a.m., doors open, grab my game. The only person in there. No one else was excited for this at all. Just in there, pick it up. I came home, jumped into it for a couple hours, and then I was at work, then had to head off to work, and I'm at work the whole day like, holy shit, I can't wait to get home and play more because I was fucking loving it so much. So I just wanted to get straight back into it. And while I was at work, I saw other people, because it was out in Australia first, I think, like time zones thing. And I saw like reviews coming out from Australian outlets and stuff, and then a lot of people being like, oh, I'm glad it looks so good. Horror games are usually shit, blah, 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 blah. And then the next like 48 hours as it kind of flowed out, I remember so many people just this turnaround of, oh shit, I better pick this up. Oh, I didn't even know this was a game, blah, blah, blah. And then Sony's promotion, kind of how I feel like they swung around with Firewall a bit this year also, was after it started picking up traction, all of a sudden, the following week, you start seeing these PlayStation Twitter ads and 30-second trailer videos. They're shitting out on Facebook and stuff like that. I'm like, why wasn't this the weeks leading up to release? It was weird. Really weird.
I know. Maybe they didn't know what they had.
I don't think they did.
Did they not play the game, I guess?
Apparently not. Well, Shuhei did.
Or whoever played the game just didn't like it, I guess.
I just believe Shuhei plays all the games at PlayStation and then says they're all good and no one ever believes him. So it'll be an interesting year for them next year. Time will tell. Also this week, so Tetsuya Nomura said in an interview this week that work on Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming along nicely. This goes against reports coming out of Japan previously in the year that Square had been struggling to rework and had been scrapping and so on with the game. So,
I mean, he's not exactly the most reliable source.
How long
has he been working on Kingdom Hearts 3?
Well, yeah, that's true. But at the same time...
How long was he working on Final Fantasy 15?
Like a very long time. I do feel like often because of, I don't know, just like Square, look, not just Square, like old Japanese companies, often, I don't like mistranslation. I don't even think it's from them. It's not their side. I often feel like in a lot of interviews, because these types of stories happen quite often, more than you'd think, I have to think it's the translation from the English-speaking side to them fucks up the question, or they don't understand it, you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times, someone speaking, English speaker will say something, how's the game coming on? Do you reckon it'll come out with this release? And somewhere it is just lost in translation, and then you get all these articles springing out, the game's fucked, it's, So anyway, this news story comes from Jill Shockers, who writes, news about Final Fantasy VII Remake comes few and far in between, but director Tetsuya Nomura wants you to know that the game definitely still exists. Speaking to Famitsu is basically, the be old Japanese gaming magazine. So Nomura reiterated from E3 2018 that development for the remake project was progressing favorably while pushing back on information he deemed to be inaccurate. An older report claimed that development had not progressed and was halted until the completion of Kingdom Hearts 3, which, to be honest, if that's what they did, I would have been like, yes, that's probably the right move to make.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah. Another Nomura project. Nomura responded to Famitsu by saying, quote, that was not official info, while also admitting that Square Enix's PR was focusing on Kingdom Hearts 3 over Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Plus 7 and other Final Fantasy titles are in the process of heading to Switch and Xbox One. You may remember that Nomura also admitted that the game was announced quite early. Yeah, who'd have fucking thought?
Yeah, really?
Justifying the move as a way to reveal the project before any sort of unceremonious leak, which you kind of get, but at the same time, just I don't know, keep the lid tighter or something, you know what I mean? So, but at this point, Square Enix fans are all too used to these long waits. With Final Fantasy 15, which at one point was in its development, directed by Nomura, and Kingdom Hearts 3 being the most infamous modern examples. Couple that with the cancellation of a majority of the DLC for the former game, plus the fact that the Quiet Man exists, and you have one confusing company. Who wrote this article? Chris Compendia. Good news article, Chris. But yeah, so... what?
Side note, did you ever boot up that Quiet Man?
No, I still haven't got to it. It's sitting there.
Yeah.
One day we're going to sit down to record either this or Arcade Couch. And yeah, listeners, I want you to subscribe to both because you never know where this conversation is going to come up. But I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to spend time talking about it. That's for sure. Yeah. So what do you reckon at this stage of all the news reports coming out? When do you reckon we're actually going to see this fucking game? Stick a date on. Throw a date at me, Ash.
2021.
I feel like that's maybe early. I feel like that's pretty decent.
Yeah, maybe. Well, what was announced E3 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
Because they showed the first footage, like they showed the gameplay footage at PSX 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I know,
they must have announced it at E3, the E3 before, I think.
All I know is it's a pity we wasn't doing Explosion Network Twitch live stream reacts then, because that is one reveal where Dylan actually lost his fucking marbles and shed a tear.
Did you do the Michael Hubert from?
No, not that bad. But I shed a tear. I shed a single tear. I think I did one of those because I'm sitting here, half asleep, and then I hear the music kick in, and it was kind of like my arm stretched out and just pushed everything out of the way. I was like, no. And then you hear the music continues and you start seeing the footsteps. I'm like, no. And then it comes up and you see it's Cloud. I'm like, oh my God, they've done it. But at the time, of course, you're just lost in the holy shit of it all. And this is amazing. And then 5-10 minutes later after the reveal, I'm like, I might be dead before it comes out, but it's coming out.
Do you reckon they should have just remastered it and not gone this whole remake?
Well, I mean, they've remastered it. They can't remaster it more than they've already remastered. It's because it's this polygon fucking mess. There's no way to.
Yes.
You could remake it in the same sort of top-down style, I guess, would have been the other direction to go. Update the art style a bit and just keep it still the same sort of old school JRPG game. But I suppose for them as a company and for the board members there that they have to get to tick off this sort of thing, investors and such, they wouldn't have been as happy as that. They want to see a more, they would want to see a more up-to-date, new-looking product, I guess, especially for something that's going to have this much money and so much riding on it as one of their biggest projects. You could get away with something like that for your Octopaths or something off on the side. What's our biggest game this year? Well, it's a remake of a game that's 30 years old, and we're just basically making it the same. It's going to bring in no new audiences, but
I don't know about that, but
I don't reckon. Well, because even most JRPGs these days, you think about Ni no Kuni, right? JRPG,
yep.
But new style.
Certainly is.
You can see the enemies on the map. Walk around, you can dodge them, that sort of thing. People hate, or the majority of people,
random encounters.
Yeah. Normal gamers hate random encounters. Your hardcore JRPG fans kind of love that shit and want that stuff in games. But yeah, I feel like most people, the idea of random encounters these days is just fuck. It's not the 90s anymore. Get that shit out of my life. And it's the same as I'm playing Pokemon at the moment. Not to bring up fucking Nintendo on the PlayStation podcast, but that's another thing where in that game you can see the Pokemon as you walk around, and I see so many people on Twitter loving it and saying that as one of the biggest, most amazing features, to the point where I'm like, fuck, if Pokemon releases the Gen 8 one at the end of next year and it doesn't have that as part of it, people are going to flip their minds, I think, because they've seen it once now. You know, like you've given it to them once, you can't take it away. People will just be like, oh fuck, we're back to random encounters. Really? Fuck that. I don't want to deal with that shit. So
I think you could still put. I think for the first time you encounter a new Pokemon, then you could have like random encounter. But
maybe I reckon if you
that would be cool.
I reckon for the people who've jumped into Pokemon, returning fans or first time people jumping into Pokemon, and that's one of the things they're loving about it. And you're going to try and bring them along to the next like hardcore or like proper quote unquote Pokemon game, and you're going to take away that. A lot of them would be like, nah, all right, I'll play Let's Go 2 or whatever that is. Not the next actual one, but yeah. So I mean, I really want to play Final Fantasy, the 7 remake. I personally would have liked the version we're talking about over the one they're going with. Just a from the ground up 4K visuals as good as you can go, but it's basically just the same game. Like it's still top down or whatever. You could even make it third person if you want, but it's still just the same game. Random encounters, everything's in the exact same spots where it is. All the characters say the things, blah 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 blah. Combat's all still the same. Love that, because Final Fantasy 7, out of all the Final Fantasy games, has one of the most simple combat mechanics, I think, of all the Final Fantasy games, which is another point it had going for it. It didn't have a really complicated battle system to understand compared to a lot of other Final Fantasies. Even 10 has probably one of the easiest ones. It's very simple. It's just you attack, your magic. How do you learn new stuff? You attach an item, and then after you use it for several battles, you've learned that ability and it's yours forever. And then you can attach something else and it's like you're training it. It's very easy to understand. Number 8 had a really weird system. Like number 3 has like some of the other games had the job system where you actually have to change classes while in the middle of battle. So 7, if they kept it like that, I reckon could have been okay. All right, let's talk about things that could be or could not be the same. Let's talk about some PS5 news, because there has been a lot of this week, and it's all surrounding one very big event that happened that sent the internet...
Or not happening.
Yeah, or not happening. That sent the internet into a bit of a confusing... It was like everyone on Twitter one morning was just like, what? Scratching their heads all at the same time. If you didn't know, Sony this past week announced that they would not be showing up at E3 2019. This is the first time that they are going to be doing such a thing. So this is shocking because A, it's E3 news in November, and hearing that makes you go, calm the fuck down, it's November. Why is my Twitter talking about E3? I haven't even had Christmas yet. Can we just slow the fuck down? And B, it's exciting because Sony is skipping E3. So the story came...
Well, to be fair, they need this time to plan.
Well, yeah.
Like... Yeah,
decisions
like this need to be made
way ahead of time. I know, but at the same time, it's like there was just 24 hours of everyone on Twitter just talking about E3. I'm like, what is going on? Like it's just over.
Is this on delay?
Yeah. So the news comes from Game Informer. They're the ones who broke the story about it. So it says the history of Electronic Entertainment Expo is as long as it is circuitous. The annual event has traditionally brought the entire gaming industry together as developers and publishers fight for attention, both on and off the show floor, through announcements, trailers, and pump-up circumstance. The displays of grandeur have ebbed and flowed over the course of E3's soon-to-be 25-year history, with different companies occasionally reconsidering the extent of their involvement in the show. Now, one of its biggest players, Sony, has decided that PlayStation will not be attending E3 in 2019. Quote, as the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the company. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 in 2019. We're exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you.
What an exciting way to delight our fans.
Not
not showing them
showing
anything.
When Game Informer asked if Sony would push its event off-site, similar to how EA provides a show adjacent to E3, while also kind of being a part of the E3 experience without actually being there. PlayStation Senior Vice President of Communications Jennifer Clark elaborated further, saying, quote, "We will not activate or hold a press conference around E3." So, Ash, you hear all this news. What are your first thoughts? What are your now thoughts? What have we got going on in your head over there with this news?
I mean, it's super surprising because it's like 20 plus years of E3. They've been there every single year.
Very horrible and even horribler and great.
I mean, what it tells me is that they heard that their press conference this year was not well received and they've decided to take the ball and go home. That's what happened, right?
If that's the way you want to believe it, yeah, sure.
No, clearly PS5 is coming and they're going to announce it around that time, either maybe a couple of months before, a couple of months after, and they don't have, I guess it makes sense for their PR machine to not go to E3.
So yeah, there are basically two stories that you can see floating around the internet that you can side with about why they're skipping it. The first of which, Sony is skipping E3 because the event is dying and they can simply run PlayStation experience instead every year and not attend E3 at all, which is a theory that you could go, well, yeah, that makes sense. Or Sony is just skipping E3 because they're planning on betting their horses on the PS5, which could potentially be revealed sometime next year for a 2020 release, and they would just do that show on their own terms at some point in the year instead of attending E3. Or third, of course, all of the above. It's a combination of everything. I'm kind of it's a little bit of all that, you know.
You really think E3 is dying?
Yeah, I think it's been dying off slowly well, not dying. I suppose dying is a very big, like, grandiose word.
I think it's bigger than ever. It's just
I think consumer-wise, because they've opened up to the public and everything, it's bigger than ever on that front. I think when people say, and myself included, when we're saying it's dying, I think that's just solely from press-wise, conference-wise, all that sort of stuff. Do we need all the big companies under the same roof for one time a year? Because that's how we used to get news. You know, there wouldn't be as much these other things throughout the year. That more and more over the last 10, 15 years have popped up. All these extra things, your Gamescoms, your Tokyo Game Shows, whatever the hell else. E3's, I don't have the exact dates, so I could be speaking out my ass a little bit, but E3's the biggest, if not, or the oldest, if not one of the oldest of the whole bunch. And then you got your PSXs, your XO18 returned this year. Will Microsoft do that
PAXs,
again? Probably.
Other conventions like that.
Your PAXs, even, where a lot bigger news has been breaking the last 2-3 years at your PAX East and your PAX West. They weren't just indie games. Like PlayStation was showing up and actually showing stuff there at some points, or even if it's not them, big third companies announcing stuff kind of there, bits and pieces. So even your PAXs are picking up more and bits of information here and there. So E3, is it dying? No, because it's still this fucking massive event that people can turn up to as just regular old Joes, attend, bigger than PAX. It's kind of like, I suppose in our world, it is literally like how there used to be EB Expo here and then your PAX. And EB Expo was, here's all your AAA publisher stuff. Here's where you go to play it. And now opening up E3 to the public is kind of like that, I guess. You know, here's where you go to play all your AAA companies. Go play it all here. And then a couple months later, you can attend your PAX, or a couple months prior, you've attended your PAX for your smaller indie game stuff happening there. But of course, the big difference in Australia was this year, EB Expo fucked off and got combined into PAX. So I don't know if the analogy quite works, but to a degree, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I had to bet though, it is definitely the PS5 is the main component, the biggest part of it. Will this mean that they are going to do PSX next year? I don't know. That's probably the interesting.
No, I don't think.
It's like if they do it, if they do PSX, they're announcing it at PSX. I feel.
Or you do an announcement, like a reveal showcase or whatever, at some point, just in an auditorium, like they did with the PSX, the PS4 Pro.
Well, they announced the PS4 at a solo thing as well. Like that was its own announcement show solely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you've actually closer to release, I guess, when you've got games that you want to showcase, then you would hold a PSX.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I want to be 100% on board with this PS5 announcement next year, and I'm sold on it. I'm like, yes, that'll make sense. I would put my bet down on it now, but at the same time, the only thing I really struggle with is when you look at the calendar for next year and like where events take place and all sorts of things. You're like, where do they do this show? Like what month? And every time I think about it, I'm like, the start of the year always sounds better than once you start heading towards your June onwards, because then you're into E3 territory, you're into all these big cons, you're into end of the year big games, you're into game award shows and whatever else. So every time I'm thinking about it, I'm like, fuck, they would have to announce it. Would they do a show somewhere in the first 6 months of the year? Are we potentially looking at the PS5 being announced within the next 7 months, which is a crazy thing to say out loud?
Not really, but
well, it is to a degree, you know. Like
they announced Final Fantasy VII 3 years ago.
I know. It's just, well, I suppose it's just because the idea of new hardware. Look, I know we've talked about it a bit, and look, if it's going to be announced in the next 7 months, we're obviously going to be talking about PS5 a lot for the ongoing future, because that's just how it's going to be,
how it goes,
how it's going to be. But at the same time, once again, where do you fall? When you look at your PS4 now, you got all these games coming out still that you want to play. We're just talking about fucking Spider-Man DLC to play. All sorts of things are still coming out. You're not exactly dry for games. If you think about the idea of the PS5 being announced next year, you're not buying it next year, but it being announced next year, are you like, seems unnecessary? Or
yeah, a little bit. I mean, it'd be cool if games loaded faster and ran smoother and the fan wasn't so loud, but I mean, we seem to be going pretty well. It feels like developers are starting to hit their stride with the current hardware, but as long as it isn't like a massive jump, like a different, like not PS3 to PS4 or PS2 to PS3, completely different system that you need to.
I don't think we're ever going to
program for
such a huge jump ever again. Is the thing. So that's why when people are like, it feels unnecessary, like we're going to wait until there's, it's like, you're not going to get the huge jumps in graphics anymore. It's just not we're past that point. It's more minuscule details that people don't pick up, I suppose, and stuff. It's not as obvious as your PS2 to PS3 or your PS1 to PS2. Even PS3 to PS4 wasn't as obvious as the previous generations, is the thing.
I feel like that was more of like, we've screwed up from a programming developer side. We need to fix all these things.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We made it way too difficult for everybody. And they're still trying to fix everything from that.
Well, all right, continue this PS5, jump off the E3 train for that news and continue on the PS5.
Do you think E3 can survive without PlayStation?
Yeah, that'll be fine. At least for a year.
Yeah.
Like I really don't think.
Do you think it is for just for a year?
It depends who jumps in, what they do, how people running E3 pick up the space and what they do to fill it, what they do to bring it in. But look, if there's all these companies, if you're smart, if you're out there, if you're a third party developer or anything, because obviously Bethesda has started doing conferences and having this big thing going on there. Look, am I down for a THQ Nordic show? Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to think. Yeah,
maybe.
Do you think Nintendo come?
Nah, they're gone.
No.
They're gone and they're done. They're like, why do we need to do it? And they've been doing fucking fine without it. They sprinkle out a Nintendo Direct every 3-4 weeks as they feel necessary. They'll announce a fucking, like, where are they going to announce this new Pokemon game? They'll announce it randomly. They'll be like, hey, we're doing a direct next week. It's going to be about Pokemon. Millions of people tune in and watch it. They don't need to announce it at E3 anymore. They really don't need it. They're in control of their own destiny over there.
Yeah, and that's probably why.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised that just Sony won't like have any show floor.
I know that.
Just send a couple of systems.
Yeah, that is honestly that part is more shocking than the press conference thing. If I read the news story and it was like, hey, Sony's not attending in a press conference capacity, but they're still going to show floor. They'll have some games there playable that may have been announced prior to that point that we don't know about yet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But the fact that they're not there, full stop, zero, that kind of just like does lead more into the PS5 announcement thing. Like, by June next year, are they really into? We don't want to be showing off PS4 stuff anymore. We just want to be talking about PS5. That might literally just be the mindset they're in come June, July next year. They're just like, yeah, we're on. We just want to talk about the next generation. We don't want to talk about our fucking PS4 stuff anymore. So
I know. It just makes it kind of interesting. Like, think about the judges awards for the E3 next year. Is there like an asterisk against it? Like, PlayStation didn't show up?
I guess. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time, but yeah, I reckon the show will be fine because someone will step in, or several places will step in to fill their big space. Does
Microsoft have to announce their next console at E3 next year?
Well, yeah, look, if they announce it at E3, I reckon I would bet they're announcing it after Sony at this point, so they're losing that race. They don't want to be losing that race though. But at the same time, they'll just own E3.
Are they playing chicken with them?
Yeah. At the same time, they would still own E3 either way. They'd come out, announce a console. That's all everyone would talk about from E3. Because Sony wouldn't be there announcing their console either. So has Sony jumped out of E3 because they think Microsoft is going to announce it there and they don't want to play that chicken game. So it's a great time. Yeah. I love the
speculation.
Well, it's kind of like it's like sports betting for fucking like, well, Microsoft does this, PlayStation does this, and
all the tactics.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, so this story comes from PlayStationLifestyle.net. It says, rumor PlayStation 5 reveal and release schedule leaked along with PSVR 2 details and ton more. We are going into Reddit speculation rumor territory, which I usually don't like to bring up on the show. However, this one has some credence to it, which I'm sure it explains here in a second. So it says the next gen console rumor mill is heating up as we get closer to an inevitable reveal and release. A new leak offers a possible look at when the PlayStation 5 might finally be revealed to the world, and it comes from a credible source that correctly called E3 2019's absence. So that's the reason I'm bringing up. This person on Reddit, a couple days prior to the announcement that Sony wasn't going to be at E3, did call it. Did come into Reddit and say, hey, Sony's not going to be at E3. A couple days later was true. So now everyone's like, what else has this person posted recently? We should take them a bit more serious now. And it's kind of like at the same time, of course, that person could have said that and just got 1 in a million chance lucky. And now they're just got all these news stories writing about them. And it's pretty funny. But at the same time, it's like, well, might as well have a bit of like giving them a little bit more credence than you would your regular person posting on Reddit about it. So the Roofanic Cookie is their name, alleges that the PS5 will be revealed in mid-2019 with a similar event to the PS4 reveal event. After that, PSX will return to offer more information, using it to finally show off new stuff for the next-gen console. So that makes sense. You know, they do an event early in the year. Here's what it is. Here's what it looks like. Here's your specs. Here's your fucking what's his name? Knack.
Here's your platform launch game.
What's the guy's name who does Knack? Mark Cerny. You know, Mark Cerny. Yeah. Because if they do a PS5 reveal event, it's going to be Mark Cerny out
He's
there,
gotta be there
talking up the tech, talking up all the specs.
He's got to pull up some charts.
Yeah, he's going to pull out some charts. It's going to be that kind of event, not the super flashy, you know, whatever one. It's going to be about what the console is, and at PSX they can show Last of Us running on it, Death Stranding running on it, etc., etc. They can dive more into that at PSX. I feel if that's the way to go about it. Blah, 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 blah. They go on to say that Sony's targeting a March 2020 PlayStation 5 release date, but it could get pushed to November 2020. Apparently, the console is a monster capable of stable 4K and 60 frames per second. And when we're talking about upgrades, this is the bare minimum, as far as I'm concerned, for what the next gen has to be. If we're not going for stable 4K and stable 60 frames per second at the minimum for all next gen games, there's no point for the next generation. That's the next step as far as I could see, that makes it worthwhile. Because at the moment you're like, but Dylan, I have a PS4 Pro. It does 4K. It does some games in 4K. Some of them it does up-res 4K from 2K. But Dylan, I have an Xbox One X. 4K is every game. Majority of it does. Some of them still aren't quite there. Your Xbox One S is exactly the same. Xbox One X is the most powerful console. That isn't just a tagline. That is true. They do 99% of games, properly, but they're still not hitting the 60 FPS constant frame rate on all your games. So if this is what we're looking at, yeah, I'd be semi-excited, but that is not a thing that's going to super excite a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be like, I still don't have 4K TV. Why the fuck do I care? Like you, so.
Yep.
Yeah. The PS5 will use a Ryzen 8 core and cost $500 The Ryzen thing would make sense. That was a rumor, I believe, from months and months and months ago. I think we even talked about it on the show. The AMD chip, there was a leaked document or something like that. Sony, like a type partnership with them. So that would make sense if it was the thing. And in addition to the information about PS5 directly, they also took the opportunity to talk about the PSVR 2 and a few games. Apparently, the PSVR 2's processing box will be built into the console this time around. If it's not, boy, fucking God help us. Making the connection much less cumbersome, it'll have built-in camera for internal positioning tracking. I don't know if this means internal, like inside the PS5, internal camera. If so, what if people put it behind their TVs and that's a weird one if it's a thing.
Maybe it's like a Bluetooth or something, like there's a laser in between that goes through stuff.
If that's a thing, then yeah, sure. It also says the DualShock 5 controllers will have built-in cameras. That would make sense. Like not cameras to take pictures, but cameras that would make them better for motion tracking in VR and that sort of things. So.
No, I think they want your controllers to be able to take selfies.
Please no. New PlayStation Move controllers are said to be coming. Please just give them to me now. Just do it. I can't wait. Along with some VR gloves
2020
currently being tested. That sounds like some futuristic shit, but that is definitely the next step up from your like the controllers we're using for like the next step in VR, like jump, is your haptic I think that's like haptic gloves, I guess, full. They'd vibrate when you touch stuff. They'll have a bunch of sensors or whatever. Yeah. It sounds like that's super crazy, but that's pretty. It seems like the next step up from where we are, I guess. Though.
Even just from a production point.
Yes, I can't wait to go to the eBay. I can't wait.
All those different sizes of gloves you need to make.
I can't wait to go to a store and be like, I'm here to pick up my virtual reality gloves, and then I'm Ready Player One, just.
Yeah.
Give me the full suit. Just give it to me. PS4 games will apparently also be on the PS5, including titles like Death Stranding, Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. And apparently it looks like Anthem will get delayed again because apparently that's also something that this person is thrown around. One final interesting thing, one comment in response to someone saying PS5 was simply called PSV, will the branding of PlayStation 5 use a Roman numeral instead of traditional numbering? Dun, dun, dun. So here is the list, the list of everything that this user has posted. And take this as you will. PlayStation Experience will be returning in 2019. Most devs already have the PS5 kits. I 100% believe that because you see in so many interviews and stuff like that. Even that Media Molecule one we talked about with Game Informer tried to get them. They're like, but I already have the PS5. And the guy went to answer it seemed, but then was like, what's the PS5? Like that's, you see coy stuff like that happening quite often at the moment, I feel. PS5 was a monster, 4K 60 frames per second stable at the same time. Sony's preparing hard for PS5, and one of the reasons for no E3 next year is because they blew all their load this year and have nothing new to show next year. They want to show new stuff at PSX. Yeah, makes sense. So small reveal 2019, one big one at PSX. Plans might change though. Remember the something like the PS4 reveal announcement in 1 year and then release in 1.5 to 2 years. I feel like 2 years after they announce it is long.
Yeah.
If that's
well, apparently they announced PlayStation 4 February 20th, 2013 and was released November 29th that same year. So like 9 months.
Yeah, that's way better. Same. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Obviously, for us, it's way better. It wasn't released in Japan until February the following year. So that was like a whole year for the Japanese audience. But yeah, a year and a half to like stew on that seems like too far out.
That seems like too long. I can handle. Right.
I mean, what if some miraculous technological advance happens in that 9 months?
Yeah,
that year and a half. And you committed to this box.
if I'm going to put my pin, if I'm going to throw my pin dart into a month currently for the reveal and then the release, I'm going to throw my reveal in April. All right, because that's a little bit into next year. Plus, it's still a couple months. Like it's still 2 months before E3, so it's not too close. It's like not the month before kind of thing. So.
Yep.
And then I'll throw my release pin into this date that they're kind of saying, that February, March area again. Because then it is under a year. Reveal April, release February, March. What do you reckon? Want to throw some darts in? Go for it.
Sure. Let's go. Let's go crazy. Let's say February next year, reveal. PSX in August, and then release in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're on hardcore.
Sure. Hopeful, maybe.
Very hopeful. So there was a couple of tidbits in this bunch of notes. They said, can't say for sure about Ghost of Tsushima. Death Stranding is still in the polishing stage. Sony doesn't want to make them PS5 exclusives because they've advertised them as PS4 games the first time. But then all 3 games has no official release date. Blah, 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 blah. Red Dead Redemption 2 will be ported to PS5 in March 2020. I mean, I don't care when the PS5 releases. That's definitely a thing that's going to happen. No fucking way about it. PSVR to Ape Escape 4 confirmed. Bloodborne 2. It says, as much as I would love to, not happening anytime soon. Sad face. Look, I just read that and I've decided everything this person said is bullshit because that shit's getting announced at the Game Awards, motherfucker.
Sounds super true.
Yeah, so there's your... And I got one other little bit tidbit to add onto this PS5 thing here. So this once again coming from PlayStationLifestyle.net. And this one says, Square Enix dev LinkedIn confirms PS5. If a Square Enix developer's LinkedIn profile is to be believed, the PS5 is real, and Square Enix is currently working on a AAA title for the platform. It was bound to happen sooner or later with all the rumors and speculation currently flying around about the PS5. Next-gen consoles are likely to be just around the corner within the next year or two. We've known the PS5 is coming, but it's never explicitly confirmed as the PS5 or the PlayStation 5 before. So Tomohiro Takoro is a lead 3D character artist with Luminous Productions, the division of the Square Enix group that was started by former Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata. Under Takoro's experience section on his LinkedIn profile, one entry states, quote, new AAA title for PS5, which is the first time we've seen a job listing or LinkedIn profile reference a next-gen console by name. Most of them simply say next generation rather than specifically naming the system. And most of the time any of these LinkedIn stories come up and people try and theorize about them, they kind of get shoved under the wayside because people go, well, what if they're just writing next gen, talking about this gen, but they just say it, which most of the time I'm like, come on, we're not a year, it's not the first year of this generation or second year. If something has next gen now, it's for next gen. Don't try and fuck with me. So yeah, there's another thing to add to the. It's not even a rumor mill at this stage. I mean, someone's not writing PS5.
We're just building the facts.
Yeah, like, no one's accidentally putting PS5 on their LinkedIn profile.
I mean, they could be. They could just accidentally hit the wrong key. They're right next to each other.
I guess, but no one's fucking that up. Come on. No, I don't believe it. Plus, I believe the PS5's happening.
I don't know. Oh, no. The Japanese numbers look very different.
Yeah. That's another thing to take into account. They weren't writing in English.
Translation error.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so there we go. There's everything about the PlayStation 5. It's happening. It's getting revealed next year and coming out fucking very fast if you believe Ash, but
sure.
But yeah.
It's interesting to read that the Last of Us and all that would be launch games. I feel like
I believe
they'd have to be spread out beforehand. Otherwise, I feel like they're going to eat each other's lunch.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if you launch with that strong of a library, that's basically shouts to me Sony going, we want to be now known as the best launch system ever. Look at these fucking games and tell us we didn't launch with the best selection of games of any console ever. You know, like if they did that, I'd be going, you're just going for that title at this point. Plus, we don't know how many other fucking things they've got in the work for PS5 is the thing. Because you could say that and be like, oh, fuck, they blew all their horses. But then they announced all these other games around the corner. And you're like, oh, fuck, never mind. Yeah, give me those because I need to finish those before this shit comes out. We just don't. We just don't know, I suppose. It's interesting.
And I guess they're different enough from each other.
Yeah. They are. They're completely different. And the only reason, that argument of you can't release them at the same time is because they're all just AAA big Sony first party games. But you could. And they could just be like, look, here's a bunch of fucking games from all our major studios launching with our console. Fuck you. Play our system. Buy it. $1,000. Oh, we're back on that.
Get a second job.
We're back on that bullshit. Yeah.
Well, it'd probably cost $1,000 once you get all 25 launch games.
Well, I mean, I picked up. I think PS4 launch. I picked up 5 or 6 games. I think launch. And I think the console was what, like $550 or $600? I don't even fucking remember now. But I think all up I paid like, I don't know, $800, So, but obviously you don't have to buy all the games. And I paid this off over, like I started pre-ordering this shit as soon as they were announced. So I would have been paying this off from, I can't really remember now because it's years ago, but I would have been paying it off from February through to November slowly because I remember by the time it came out.
Oh, maybe that's what they want the year and a half.
Yeah, to help people pay it off. They're like, nah, EB Games has got Afterpay now. You're good.
Oh, then you've only got like 8 weeks to pay it off.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's move on to hashtag every trophy counts. So I want to quickly go over Spyro's trophies because I talked about the game, but I did pick up the platinum for the first game. It took me about 5.5 to 6 hours. It's a very quick, very easy platinum. I'd say it's a lot easier if you've played the game before. Harder if you haven't, obviously. There are, I wouldn't say ridiculously obscure couple like treasures and dragon locations, but there's one level called Treetop Village, Treetop something or other. I can't remember. Treetop something that is, if you don't know what you're doing, you'll just have to look up what to do. And I have no idea how. Here's the thing. I remembered, and I'm like, how did I know this as a kid? Where did I get the information to do this from? Did I figure it out? Did someone at school teach me? Like, I didn't have the internet. I wasn't looking up on the internet what to do back then. It got me wondering how the fuck I knew what to do because it is literally to get to this one spot, you have to go off a ramp, full blast speed, do a 180 in the air, land on another ramp, jump off that one to the right to another ramp. And none of these, there's no reason to do this. Like, there's no leading direction to make you do this. And that leads you way off into the distance where you can see it. And you could be like, oh, maybe you just figured it out because you can see where you need to go off in the distance. You just have to figure out exactly what ramps to do it, but it's still really fucking random. But I'd say Spyro 2 and 3, which are they'll get a little bit harder simply because they add in a bunch more mini games, and depending on, like, if you find one or two of the mini games just harder than the rest for you, then obviously it's going to make the difficulty a little bit harder. And also 2 and 3 get slightly longer, but all three games are pretty quick. They're definitely all going to be somewhere between that 5 to 8, maybe pushing it 10 if you fuck around or you struggle a little bit on some stuff, our platinums. But either way, it's three platinums that are going to be fun and easy for you to pick up. Another platinum we're going to be picking up tomorrow or today when this is out, probably, because I'll just fucking pay the price, fuck it, is Storm Boy, the game, which I have a review up now on exposurenetwork.com. I played it on the Switch though. That's out today, but the PSN profiles popped the trophies today, and by God, 11 gold, 1 platinum, and it's going to take you about 30 minutes to pick up this platinum, everyone. Very fast, easy game. The game it's an interactive storybook, is the way I described it in my review. So there's you can rush through the story fast as all fuck. You just hold down the right analog stick and you can skip the majority of the mini games. You don't even have to interact with a lot of them. And there's only one section in the game that you could technically fail at, but then if you fail at it, the game literally just says, hey, do you just want to skip this? And you can click OK and get past it. I think one of the trophies may make you have to do it though, but it's not hard. But the game's so easy. But yeah, I'm gonna be buying that game, even though we got sent the review code for the Switch version. But I'll pick it up again because the platinum so easy and just waiting. I think it's $6.90. Yeah, it's $6.99 on PS4 here. So
jeez, bargain.
Be aware of that one. And if you want to know what the game is, explosionnetwork.com, review, read it over there.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2's DLCs are up for the fuck is this one called? The DLC 2? What the fuck is it? What is it called?
War something.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Turf
Wars, thank you. I was just talking about. Looks exactly the same as the second DLC, so let's presume that the third DLC is pretty much going to be the same. You've still got your challenges, bunch of story stuff, clear certain section of the map. Cool. All I know is Nick got all the trophies, so I can do it. That's my go-to. It can't be hard.
That's fair enough.
And it can't be too time-consuming or tedious. Nick wouldn't have done it. So, YouTuber's Life, I know for a fact, is out this week in the US, and the trophies are up. I haven't been able to double-check if it's out here in Australia. However, it does look like it's going to be a very easy and ridiculous plat, and one that I would like to pick up, if not solely, just to have on my profile and be like, yeah, I did that, because it's fucking stupid. I was tweeting out pictures of the trophy list earlier this week on Twitter because I found it so funny. But I mean, the platinum is called Master of YouTubers. I want that. I want to say that I have the Master of the YouTubers platinum. You can get trophies such as Bye Bye Mum, you've moved to the student's flat. That's a good one. Love is in the air, you've got a boyfriend or girlfriend. Best gamer ever, you've finished YouTuber's life being a gamer. There's also ones for finishing YouTuber's life as a musician, a drama person, I think, or something like that. All sorts of weird things. I think it was a
beauty test,
beauty streamer, yeah, and a chef
or gamer,
and gamer. But that's the one where the game is the one that we all need. So yeah, I mean that the trophy list looks pretty straightforward for the most part. But I reckon if someone put together a guide that just told you the easiest way to fly through the campaign to get the like necessary points I achieve to do certain stuff, then it'll probably be a lot quicker. But either way, I don't think it's going to be particularly hard. And I want to be master of YouTubers. What a game. And then the other one,
I don't know. It's pretty difficult.
What, being
we haven't cracked it yet.
Yeah, I know. That's why I need the game, Ash. I need the practice.
Yeah.
The other trophy list that popped that I thought was interesting. I don't think the game's not out until February next year, but the trophy list is up. So it's the RPG Maker, which we talked about on the show when it got announced and was like, why the fuck is RPG Maker coming to console? Sure, that's going to be really weird and cumbersome to use. And I'm that's surely how it's still going to be. However, trophy list makes it look like a very easy fucking platinum, but like super easy.
No.
So
50 hours of total playtime.
yeah, but look, I'm going to work.
You just leave it on for
your
50
console
hours.
on. Yeah, they're not any trophy that says play a game.
I guess for trophy hunters like yourself, that's a pretty small.
That's a
ask.
pretty small ask. I left Need for Speed undercover, whatever, the PS3 one. I left it on for like 3 days straight doing nothing to get a trophy. So yeah, no, it's fine. But I mean, the rest of it, play one game, place a total of 1,000 map tiles, 10,000 map tiles. But I mean, all you gotta do is just doing it. Just spam map tiles around a world in the game. Create 20 characters, 50 maps, configure a total of 50 enemies, configure 20 weapons, configure a total of 50 classes, configure a total of 100 items. Like all that sort of stuff is just, you could just do it real fast, presumably. So, and it's 1 plat, 5 gold, 11 bronze, 16 silver. So overall, it's a pretty good mix of bronzes and silvers there. So depending on price and everything, I reckon that's something that I'll chuck onto the old wish list and wait for it to come out on a sale or something to pick up for an easy platinum. Especially if someone chucks together a guide that says, just jump in, do these things in this order, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like, just jump into a level, do this, and by the end of it, by the time you finish making this level I tell you to make, you'll have unlocked all the trophies. Oh, and then leave the game going for 50 hours.
When you think about it, it's like a basic version of Dreams.
Yeah, I know, that's something. It's like, here's RPG Maker. Fuck RPG Maker, man. I'm waiting for Dreams. Also, talking about Dreams, before we fucking end the episode, it's heading towards the end of November, Media Molecule. The beta out before the end of the year, I heard. Don't get me started.
2018 goes into 2019 in Dreams.
It's
always 2018 in Dreams.
I'm not trying to push them. I just want to play the fucking beta. I just want it. I want to hear. But that's what we can do. While you're waiting for the beta, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil. VIVALADIL. We can tweet me your dreams. Where can people follow you, Ashley?
You can tweet dreams at me at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. Please keep them PG.
Okay. You can follow this show on Twitter at Plat Podcast. You could tweet us there your dreams.
Yeah.
I was just going for a nice awkward silence there. Don't forget to rate the show on Apple Podcasts if you can. A bit of word of mouth if you want to do that. Tell a friend, share it to them, send them this episode, say we mentioned them in it. We don't until now.
Tell them your dreams and then say you got the idea from
Tell them you had a dream about this show and then you found it on the internet and now you think we're your soulmate. Which we are, probably, most likely. Or Ash is, definitely for sure. You can join our Discord where we chat about games, ask for trophy tips, all sorts of things, share your trophy advice, ask for people to play games with you to get trophies and some annoying games where you need partners, curse you multiplayer trophies. ExplosionNetwork.com/Discord. This is, of course, a product of the Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews, and fancy things at ExplosionNetwork.com, including Arcade Couch, a brand new multi-platform variety gaming show, which we've mentioned a couple of times this episode, and I'll kick it off the end with another mention there for you. And you can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Until next week, everyone, hope you have a great week. I'm going to be playing Beat Saber, working up a sweat. It's great. It's going to be a great old time. Hey there, dear listeners. Are you aware that the Explosion Network has a brand new video game podcast? You're not? Well, it's called Arcade Couch and it is available now. We kicked it off at PAX 2018 by recording the first episode right there and then, and now it is releasing every Saturday at 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Go ahead and download it now on your favorite podcasting service. Simply search for Arcade Couch, search for Explosion Network, whatever, however you want to go about it. Find it, subscribe to it. Grab your friends' phones, subscribe to it, check it out. Check out the first episode, live from PAX. Check out the second episode, live from our usual recording booths. But just check it out.
Just beating them blocks and sabers. Just beat them.
I'm just going to be
beat them until they're broken.
I'm going to be beating something until it's broken, you know what I'm saying?
Yep, they're move controllers. When they're not working, you'll just be beating them because they're